All right, friends, it's T-Man, and I'm back with a new video. I caught wind of this video. I don't know, it popped up in YouTube. I was just scrolling and I saw this video pop up. They're lying about protein. I don't know this channel, never came across it. I just saw it now. The channel's called The Light Leaders by Alex E. Lambert. Okay, that's a really long name, but whatever. So this guy says, raw vegan nutritionist, the truth on building muscle. Okay.
It's very difficult to build muscle if you have a diet that is poisoning you. Muscle building can be used to.
Yeah. What would be a diet that would be poisoning you? A plant diet would be poisoning you, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be a raw meat-based diet because that's our natural diet and there's no poisons in there. It's a high nutrient diet since human cells only want nutrients. They do not want toxins. They do not want sugar. They do not want fiber either. They don't want any of those things. They want nutrients and amino acids, and you only get them in meat because their meat is not deficient in any nutrients.
Reverse chronic illness, right? But it has to be used.
Yeah. How do you reverse chronic illness when you're on your natural? What causes chronic illness? Obviously, plants. These toxic plants, anti-nutrients, cause chronic illness. Okay. So how do you get rid of that? Well, you eliminate it. That's how. Doctor, every time I raise my arm, it hurts. Stop raising your arm, and it will stop hurting. See, the same thing. Doctor, every time I eat these toxic, poisonous plants, which they use to protect themselves, I get chronic disease. Well, stop doing that. See, that's all. Stay on your meat-based diet, which you're eating already.
In conjunction with your diet. The interests that sell the protein, they work in collusion with the media to program the population, to train them to believe that they need to pursue protein pretty aggressively.
You do. I don't know about the industry, the industry selling protein powders that you have to pursue protein vigorously, but according to science, and I already know this even based on experience, protein synthesis needs to outpace protein breakdown to see that mass on that myofibrillar. Now, if it doesn't, if you're not in positive nitrogen balance, you're screwed. But here's the thing. Vegans are in negative nitrogen balance, so it's obvious. Not only are their diets toxic and poisonous, but they're also deficient in protein because in amino acids because it's associated with negative nitrogen balance, which would be doing what? Well, you're deteriorating now faster than you're regenerating. That's why when you go to these like Severage and these vegan compilations and GOTUS, and you see all these videos about vegans, what's going on with them? They're deteriorating faster than they're regenerating. Look at all of them. Get it? Yeah. So it's kind of obvious, right? You know what I mean? But if you're on a meat-based diet, your natural diet, raw carnivore diet, you're always in positive nitrogen balance. It's impossible not to be regenerating faster than you're deteriorating because no animal on their natural diet in nature is deteriorating faster than they're regenerating. They're all regenerating faster than they're deteriorating, except for humans because they love to eat the slave food peasant food cuisine diet. Get it? Slave food diet.
Training strategy will make it or break your ability to build muscle.
No, absolutely not. Your training will not dictate whether it'll make you break you building muscle. You could have the best training in the world, but if protein synthesis does not outpace protein breakdown, you're not in positive nitrogen balance. If you're not taking in more nitrogen that is going out, you are not going to see jack shit, bro. Get it? No matter how much you train.
Look at the top athletes. There's not a lot of them who would be high vegan, if any, really. Why is that?
That's right. The top athletes are not vegan. They eat animal protein. Why is that? Because you need to be in positive nitrogen balance. You need to be regenerating faster than you're deteriorating. That's why, sir.
Hi, and welcome to this new episode of The Light Leaders. Today, I'm with Remson Noir, who's a high raw vegan nutritionist and fitness coach with over 10 years of coaching experience. He has coached over 1,000 people to get healthier and stronger and help people with various conditions, many of them like cancer, diabetes, kidney disease, lupus, Crohn's disease, and many more. And you also look amazing. You've been building strong muscles on a high.
Well, everybody looks amazing in the beginning before they completely deteriorate. You understand me? Everybody does. The question is this: are you going to look amazing when you're middle aged? That's the question. When you're middle aged, are you going to look as amazing as you do now, being young?
Vegan diet, which some people think is really hard to do. So we're actually going to.
I love this one. Vegan diet, which people think it's really hard to do, it's impossible because you're a negative nitrogen balance. Vegan diets are associated with negative nitrogen balance. And if you're a negative nitrogen balance, then what are you? Huh, less nitrogen is coming in. It's insufficient to build muscle. Yeah.
Talk about this. That's a topic I'm really excited about.
In other words, you're actually the opposite. You're actually catabolic.
About. I recently shared a video about a 1 year journey since my 14-day water fast on this. And I think you're one of the people that's fully embodied, and you're also a nutritionist, so you really know how it works. I'm really excited to have you and to dive into this. Welcome to the show.
There's another thing. These people at some point, it's so deficient their diet, vegan diet, is they start suffering from something called scurvy. Yeah. Eventually.
Ramson.
All right, thank you for having me.
And for the people following, I'll put chapters down
An amino acid deficiency, that's scurvy.
the videos. So you can also go to the part that interests you. And thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
I think you'll learn so much today. Ramson, quick question to start with. What are you grateful for today?
Yeah, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to do the work that I do. As you know, I work as a full-time coach.
And what's that? Giving out misinformation? I don't know. Maybe.
Mentoring people, giving out the information that people need in order to
And what is that information that people need? Where's your proof?
make progress on their journey. That's pretty much what I primarily do. So I'm just grateful that I get to live on my own terms. I think that's the most important thing, right? Freedom is one of my top line values. Because that serves for well-being. My number one objective is to expand to well-being for the overwhelming majority of us.
Is it?
So,
Is it?
yeah, everything that I'm doing
Is it? Are you sure?
currently falls in line with my values, and I don't really have to compromise on that.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ramson, and congratulations on creating this. Let's get started with a little backstory on you and how you got to do that job of nutritionist and fitness coach on a high-raw vegan diet.
Yeah, so basically, I've been coaching in some way, shape, or form throughout my entire adult life, starting at the age of 18 years old officially. Started off as a personal
And Jason Blah claims he's a coach. And so what? Anybody can use that. I'm a coach. That doesn't mean anything, man.
trainer, and then expanded to performance enhancement, strength and conditioning, and corrective exercise. Yes.
Oh, performance enhancement. I guess that's what they need as vegans, right? Because they're negative nitrogen bound, so they need these hormones to try to increase that. All right.
So basically, helping people to expand on and
Synthetically.
create more athleticism within themselves, create more strength, endurance, mobility, etc.
I don't think that's athleticism if you're taking drugs. I don't consider that athleticism, but some people will, I guess. Whatever.
And then the corrective exercise, fixing posture, rehabilitating from joint injuries, and things of that nature. Right?
Okay.
And then
You want to know how to recover from all those things? It's really simple. When protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown, you'll recover from all of those. Especially if you haven't taken on so much damage, and you haven't already aged somewhat. So yeah, you'll be fine. You should be able to regenerate quickly. I'm regenerating a lot faster now because less of this damage in my body, the deterioration has gone away, and a lot of the senescent cells are gone, and I'm not suffering from any myogenic decline or anything like that. So that definitely helps. That's another reason why you want to stay in a positive nitrogen balance on your natural, raw carnivore diet, whatever human diet.
Moved into nutrition, really, I became, I followed a vegan lifestyle, still do, for ethical reasons. I didn't really do it for health reasons.
How long have you been vegan?
But 11 years now, right? So I either started,
See, being on a natural raw carnivore diet is not based on addiction, just like cows eating their natural grass diet. You can't say cows are addicted to eating grass because that's their natural diet. Get it? Now, anything outside of eating meat as a human, that is based on addiction. That is based on addiction. That isn't based on health. That's why meat is not based on addiction. You're not addicted to eating meat. You eat it. That's why you say I'm bored, or you're bored, or whatever. I don't get bored because I'm gonna eat meat all after. If I have to eat meat every day, I'll get bored. You'll get bored because it's not based on addiction. It's based on your natural diet. It's based on health, and you wouldn't get bored eating it every day because it's a necessity. Your nutrients are there. That's where you get them from. So it's impossible to be bored of something that is making you healthy and making you making you good looking and a bunch of stuff.
Plant-based journey either in, I want to say either 2012 or early 2013, one of those.
Plant-based journey. Ooh.
So yeah, basically I saw what happens to animals in animal agriculture, and I was just like, nope, I can't be associated.
Oh, he saw what happened to animals in animal culture, so oops, I can't be a part of that. Then don't be a part of it. But that doesn't mean you have to stop eating your natural diet. And anyways, this guy probably grew up as a slave. That's why. These are all people slave. Peasant slave food diets. They all grew up on the peasant slave food diet. Like entire societies. I call it the peasant slave food cuisine. They think of it as cuisine, this slave food cuisine. Yeah, that's not cuisine. Meat. I call meat cuisine. Meat is fucking healthy for you. But the best is when they claim that shit is fucking cuisine.
With that is sadistic. So,
okay.
Just pivoted plant-based.
What's sadistic?
Pretty much abandoned.
Okay, what's sadistic? Because there's so many, the population is massive, right? We don't hunt anymore. So we farm animals and then we slaughter them, right? You call it slaughtering. The death is very quick. We don't torture animals to death and they die. They just simply put them out of their misery quick. But to him, he thinks, well, I don't want any part of that. So let me get this straight. So if you were with your tribe out in nature, your tribe, and they said, hey, it's time to eat. We have to go out and hunt. So this fucker is going to say, hey, man, I don't want any part of that. I'm not going to go out there and fucking, with a bow and arrow and fucking kill some animals so I can live, so I can eat, and so I can stay alive. No, I'm going to sit here and starve to death because, in Africa, there's no farming there. They're not going to farm. Like most of it's dirt and trees and plants. There's no farming in these people. They just fucking go out there and hunt, right? Sometimes they scare the lions away. Lions killed an animal. They go there and, cut part of the animal and fuck off. Oh, but he's going to be like, no, I don't want any part of that, right? The tribe will be like, what? What do you mean you don't want any part of that? No, I don't want any part of that. So, okay, starve to death and die, right? I guess you're going to die for whatever. For your cause. Your cause.
Like over 90+% of all the food that I was eating.
Yeah.
So I had to adapt on the fly and quickly. But being a coach, when people ask me, hey, what do I eat in order to reach my goals? Well, I can't exactly tell them to do one thing while I'm doing something else. So there was a need, an upfront need, in immediate fashion to be able to have good answers.
There is no need. You are not going to save the planet. You're not going to save any of these animals. This guy is fucking stupid. Whatever.
Right, to be able to not only survive and thrive on a plant-based diet for myself, but be able to replicate that.
I love this, survive and thrive. So he wants to survive because that's what it really is, survival food, until you find the next animal to kill and then you're going to do okay. Otherwise, you'll die because you'll die on a plant-based diet. So he's going to survive and thrive. He wants to thrive on survival food. Well, that's really interesting. How do you survive how do you thrive on survival food? You don't. You die. Like the vegan compilation, they start dying.
And other people. So I did that. So I went through the education for I want to say from 2013, 2014 till 2016. Right, 2016 is when Tribe by Noir became public, meaning it was a public service that people can actively engage and seek coaching from me. But the first 2 years before that was more private, because still testing things and making sure that I was able to reproduce consistently the type of results that people were looking for, right? So did that for 2 years with people who I was working with personally in the gym, and then expanded from there. So my methodology has mostly been the same since then. It's become more evolved, more refined, as I've learned more information, and my diet has gotten more raw over time. But fruit has always been a big part of the process. It's just that now it's become...
Fruit will destroy you, gives you brain damage, destroys your mitochondria, the fructose. It's a known fact, NCBI PubMed. It'll cripple you, man. It'll destroy you, cause chronic disease, do a bunch of bad shit to you, fructose.
The majority of it, rather than just being a big part of it. Right. So that's pretty much where I currently am today. But, I started off in the fitness background and kind of extended more so towards chronic illness reversal. And the reason why, so basically I'm from New York City. I was coaching in Manhattan, specifically the Soho area, right, or downtown Lower Manhattan. So the demographic of people that I was working with was high-income people. People who were television producers, actors, models, writers, that kind of thing, right? Sometimes athletes, to varying degrees. People who, they didn't really have health conditions. They weren't necessarily working class in the conventional sense. So they had a different set of issues. They more so engaged in fitness as like a hobby and thing that they did, right? But it wasn't like, I need to do this for my health and my survival kind of deal.
A hobby. Why would anybody do any of that as a hobby? Okay, whatever. So I want to deteriorate myself as a hobby. Okay, yeah, I want to age. Okay.
It became a point where I moved to Georgia, relocated, and found myself working with a completely different demographic of people. And these people were more blue collar people. These were more lower or middle class people.
All right, let's move on.
Even for building muscle?
Let's move on to this one. Importance of carbohydrates for muscle growth. Okay, let's see. Are they important for muscle growth? Not really.
Yeah, it's very difficult to build muscle if you have a diet that is poisoning you, right? If you have a food poisoning diet that reduces your...
Yeah, that's plants.
...ability to build muscle. So basically, if you're dealing with any kind of chronic...
The truth is the carbohydrates could be poisoning you. See what I mean? I know that you get people, we do mix complex carbohydrates with meat, but could it be poisoning you? Well, it has oxalates in it, and it has other toxins inside there. It's carbohydrate. It's also, it could be taking up space, causes inflammation. It has fiber in it, so you can't digest fiber. It's complex, man. I really, honestly, when you look more into the science, it tells you to eat animal fat. When that's the truth, we run better on animal fat. We really are using more animal fat anyways, and burning it as energy than the carbohydrate. That's the truth, right? But complex carbohydrates will convert in the body to glycogen, so they'll load in the muscle. That will expand the sarcoplasm. They say, well, muscle growth. I don't know about energy. This energy is coming and going. It could be crashing. I never noticed me ever crashing on animal fat. There's a difference between being on animal fat and being on complex carbohydrates. Now, when I was younger, complex carbohydrates, they aided in pushing that mass, right? Because the sarcoplasm is expanding. Now, as far as energy, I never really felt that great on complex carbohydrates. I kind of felt dysfunctional. Maybe it could even make you weak, honestly. So the comparison is people will state that they're stronger on meat and animal fat, and they actually do better energy wise. So it would be prudent for people to, I would say, put it to the test, right? To see if you run better on animal fat than you do on complex carbohydrates and then eliminate it. See what I mean? Yeah, because, anyways, in the long run, it will do you in. If you do it too long, these complex carbohydrates, these plants, because they're toxic, they will do you in. They can add to this deterioration. But of course, protein is saving you because it's suppressing it. If protein outpaces breakdown, then yeah, you're regenerating faster than you're deteriorating because these plants are adding to the deterioration. But the protein is what's saving you, the building blocks, the amino acids.
Illness, your body will deprioritize muscular growth and prioritize reducing inflammation or just keeping you alive. Right. So if you're diabetic, if you have high blood pressure, kidney disease,
Humans aren't diabetic. I don't know what he's talking about. Diabetic is diabetic is because of insulin, because your body it wants you to stop doing that, eating sugar. It's because you're consuming more sugar than your body can handle and throw out.
liver disease, these things will come.
Your body would never give you bodies are not riddled with disease. Human bodies have zero disease. You're the cause of it. The toxins are causing those, and you call it disease. The plants have toxins. You eat them. They cause a disturbance in your body. You call it disease because you won't stop eating the plants. The plants want you to stop eating them. They're apex organisms. We're apex predators, but they're apex organisms on this planet. They're bigger than us.
Compound and reduce your ability to drop body fat and build muscle and get stronger and things like that because your body is just battling against too many things.
Yeah. So that would be the plants. It's battling through so many things. The plants poisoning it. So yeah, how could it ever function properly? How could it do any of these things? Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess also
So
when you have those conditions, the muscle building becomes secondary also, right? Like it's not the most important.
Right.
Well, it doesn't necessarily become secondary as long as protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown. And there was a relative amount of micro damage there. It still will have to go through a regeneration. But now you're building very unhealthy body. That is the problem. Eating slave food, peasant cuisine.
Right. However, muscle building can be used to reverse chronic illness, right? But it has to be used.
Yeah. It can be used to reverse chronic illness? No. What is used to reverse chronic illness in the carnivore community, I'm not talking about max looking. Max looking, they eat raw carnivore. The carnivore community, they're still cooking. Maybe some are eating raw, but the majority of them are cooking raw, are cooking meat. They've eliminated those plant foods. It's elimination diet. So they've gotten rid of all these diseases.
In conjunction with your diet. Right. Sleep quality has to be prioritized, staying hydrated.
Sleep quality doesn't have to be prioritized. If you're on your natural diet, that will not interfere with your sleep. Now, if you eat plants that are toxic, it will interfere with your sleep. And stimulants like coffee all day and, caffeine in coffee, whatever. These stimulants and shit, that will interfere with your sleep, definitely, yeah.
Making the right food choices, right? So basically the rule, or one of the major rules, that anything that isn't growing is dying, right?
That's right. Anything that isn't growing is dying. Well, people will tell you, if you keep growing, you'll age. Well, that's not true. You're actually regenerating. I'm talking about regenerating, not necessarily growing. You're growing, but you're regenerating.
So basically, diet is a zero-sum game. Whatever you're eating is either helping to maintain your life or end it.
Yeah. That would be vegan diet.
So those are some of the principles and the rules that I follow. and bake into the methodology.
No, he doesn't because he's a vegan, so he's lying.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Ramson. And so many things I want to get into there, talking about protein, how muscle growth work, about the top foods for that, about also other topics. Before we get into that, can you share in just shortly how it looks like, how you eat at the moment, your higher vegan diet?
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, so
Let's see.
basically, I like to eat large portions. Right. So
I love how he said, I particularly like to eat large portions. You have to, otherwise you'd be dead completely.
some of my staple foods are, bananas, watermelons, melon.
Right. Bananas, which are the highest when it comes to radiation. Yeah. Watermelons, high sugar, fructose content. These fruits are very high in fructose because they're engineered. They're engineered to be super sweet. So he's eating something that's artificial. He's not eating natural stuff that's found in nature.
Bananas, melons, mangoes, grapes,
Yeah, all these things are engineered to be super sweet, super big.
variety of different berries, kiwis, citrus fruit.
Kiwis full of oxalates, man, they're nasty. They can kill you. You could die eating kiwis, man. Some foods are so high in oxalates that you can literally die eating them. People have died. Children have died.
Fruits like tangerines, grapefruit, etc. Right.
Tangerines and grapefruit, acid. So grapefruit is pure acid, man. Goes in. The first thing it does is it fucking destroys your teeth, and then it embalms you from the inside out. That's great. Yeah.
So eating several pounds of fruit a day, right? So upwards of
Eating several pounds of fruit, so several pounds of fructose every day, which will destroy you with the time. It takes time. It's slow deterioration, but it will deteriorate you over time.
minimum of 4 pounds of fruit a day to upwards of 10, even.
Yeah,
Right.
that's it. And when you reach 40, that's when everything starts to collapse. When he reaches 40, his whole world is going to collapse. He's going to have a shock, a wake-up call. That's when all the shit's going to start happening. He's going to suffer from mitochondria, this failure, and a bunch of stuff.
Very carbohydrate dominant diet, and then of
Yeah.
course we have in nuts and seeds.
There you go. He even admitted it. Very high carbohydrate diet, which does what? Destroys humans. I'm on a diet that destroys me, but I'm intelligent. Wow, he's really intelligent. That's high IQ. Yeah. I know. He's going to save the planet. Those poor animals. Now he wants to eat seeds. How insane is that? You want to eat seeds? Seeds are not meant for eating. They're meant for planting. That's why seeds have toxins in them. If you try to grind them, they'll poison you and you'll die. Cyanide. This guy's retarded.
Which is another big part of it, right? And those also contain the majority of my dietary fats.
Seeds contain the majority of your dietary fats? What the fuck?
Omega-3 essential fatty acids.
Omega-3 essential fatty acids. Well, that's found in fish, man, right?
Zinc, right, things like that. So
Zinc, they're anti-nutrient. Plants are anti-nutrient. I don't know what he's talking about, omega-3s. He's not getting any of that. He's so full of shit.
seeds, flax.
Look, he developed himself eating meat, okay? He grew up on meat. So he's not growing anymore. So you stopped growing. So what happens here is you're now deteriorating faster than you are regenerating. And that will add to what people call aging. And that's what he's doing here. And before he knows it, when he hits 40, the amount of damage that was caused will be so surmountable that at some point at 40, it'll be almost impossible to reverse. It would take a lot of work now to reverse all that damage that he caused leading up to that point when he does become dysfunctional.
Seeds, chia seeds, pumpkin seed kernels, sunflower seed kernel.
Look at chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, Wow, this guy's crazy. You're eating fucking seeds, man. That is pure survival slave food diet. You're not supposed to be eating seeds, duh. They're toxic.
oils, cashews, almonds.
Those are the worst. Those are so poisonous. Almonds, they're fucking high in cyanide. Just eat a couple of handful of those, you end up in the hospital fucking dying.
Pistachios, right? Things like that.
It's crazy.
And then the leafy greens, right? The spring mix, the watercress, the
Yeah, the leafy greens, like as a hunter, you would stop in the forest and eat some leafy greens because, I'm busy now, I'm hunting, but I just stopped to eat these greens, right? Yeah, they taste so good eating green leaves, yeah.
arugula, kale.
Believe me, none of these things he's eating, him eating them, is not without some sauce putting it on top of it because they taste bitter because that bitter taste is the toxicity, the toxins. So he'll mask all those toxins with like shit.
Things of this nature. Swiss chard, romaine lettuce.
Swiss chard.
As far as
Romaine
cooked
lettuce.
foods, we've got things like sweet potato
Oh, shit.
and lentils primarily. Chickpea.
You know, when you think about it now, it's gross, man. That shit's gross. I'm a meat eater all my entire life, like everybody else. Really, honestly, that shit's gross. Nobody would want to just live off that. You're just eating that as a filler. It's just filling you. It's just aging you because it's interfering with the digestion of the nutrients from the meat. Because those plants are anti-nutrient when they go in. And then you're fermenting, you're farting, bloated, you have inflammation because of the toxicity. Your body's trying to get rid of it because the fermenting is causing the gas buildup, so you're farting. And the inflammation is caused because of the toxicity that's coming in, the amount of toxins that are coming in, and your cells are doing a flight or fight. They're in flight or fight mode constantly. This is just ridiculous.
Some black beans, things like that.
I bet you eat salt too, right? Salt. Oh, why am I getting headaches? Salt, because it causes, it's buildup, sodium buildup in your brain. It'll cause your brain to swell. You could fucking die. It's toxic, man. It's poisonous.
But
That's why fish in the sea, could you imagine if they drank salt, if they ate salt or drank salt all day? They'd be dead because salt would dry you up and you die. Get it? That's what it does to your, it embalms you from the inside out. Well, if they ingested it, these fish, everything, they'd be dead. They don't ingest seawater, salt water. Get it? They don't ingest salt water, dude. That's why they're alive in the sea, because they don't do that.
I don't eat a
So
whole
you'd be like, where do they get their moisture from? They get it from the other fish that they eat. The plankton, the fish, whatever.
lot of cooked foods. Right? I eat cooked foods maybe a couple times a week, 2, 3 times a week, and that would mainly be legumes, like lentils, right?
Legumes and lentils, they have to be special prepared because oxalate will kill you.
Whole grains are
See, it doesn't say in science that legumes and seeds and shit and these leafy greens build muscles. It says protein synthesis must outpace protein breakdown to see that mass on that myofibrillar. So there, right then and there, you have to be weary of this guy trying to tell you that these seeds and beans and plants and leaves are going to build muscles. Get it, bro? He's full of shit.
phenomenal, right? When you think of whole grains, people think of things like oats, quinoa.
Yeah, oats and quinoa. Holy shit. Fucking grains destroy you. That's pure sludge, man, bro. Get it on grains. Even the Mongols laughed at these Westerners eating grains and shit. That's what really destroyed them. That was what really causes what causes malnourishment in people. Eating these fucking grains. That's why you're not fully developed because too much grains in their diets. That's also preventing that. Yeah.
My top two mainly are kasha, which is roasted buckwheat, and then rolled oats, old-fashioned rolled oats, right? So
Sure.
I don't cook those, right? I primarily just soak them overnight and then make like a breakfast porridge with them, right? So
I make breakfast porridge because I'm a slave. I'm in a prison. You know what they give prisoners? Porridge and bread and water and porridge. Russians, they eat a lot of porridge. Want to know why? Because they were really poor in Russia. They're so poor, they eat nothing there. Fucking Russians are the poorest on the, as far as I knew growing up. They were always the poorest. There's nothing to eat in Russia. Russians will tell you that. There's fucking nothing to eat there, man. They fucking eat porridge, bro. It's crazy.
Throw them in the blender with a variety of other things, cacao powder, maybe some maple
Gross.
syrup,
That is so gross. All that shit's gross, man.
cinnamon,
Ew.
sea salt, that kind of thing.
See, some sea salt so he can embalm himself from the inside out. Salt is fucking destructive to humans.
Make it nice and creamy, pureed in the blender. That's a good mix for a good breakfast. So there's a lot of different recipes and things like that that I use in my diet.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, and yeah, I eat very similarly to you actually, and so I'm also really interested to have you on this
He eats similarly to him. Okay, good luck with that too. Yeah.
and on this topic. Okay, let's get into protein. I feel like that's because you're into fitness, you look like well muscular, and a lot of people think, well, to get that kind of muscle, you need a lot of protein, but the diet you just shared would be, I don't know, I would estimate it's like maybe 10-15% protein probably of your calories, right?
Yeah, somewhere in between there. So typically, my protein intake is more along the lines of probably like 12%, 16%, somewhere around there.
What do you mean your protein intake? You're not eating any protein. You're eating plants, you fool. What are you talking about? There's no protein there. He's full of shit.
Okay, so I'll ask
Depending
you,
on the day.
Rexon.
Yeah, plants have amino acids in them. You need the essential ones. But it's so hard for your body to extract, to try to extract those proteins. It's ridiculous. That's why you're always in negative nitrogen balance.
How do you achieve such a physique with a low intake of protein?
Science will corroborate. It's a deficient diet in amino acids. Not only does it not have all the essential amino acids, but it's also deficient. Even though if you get the ones that have them all, it's still deficient. The diet is deficient in amino acids. So you will suffer from scurvy, amino acid deficiency. And so your hair will start falling out eventually, your nails. You'll have all kinds of fucking health problems. It'll catch up with you.
Yeah, so basically, I don't know. So it depends on how you qualify a low protein diet, right? So when people talk about low protein,
He said porridge. I don't know if he's drinking milk. If he's doing any dairy products, then he's not a vegan. He's lying, because that would be the only thing that is sustaining him at this point, would be the dairy products.
it depends on how they quantify it. So, for example, if I'm eating 100 grams of protein a day, that's not really considered a low protein diet, right? Even though, I'm only eating.
Yeah, but how do you know you're getting all of that? Plants are deficient. You don't know that. He's fabricating that.
Maybe 12 to 16% protein in my diet, but I eat a lot of food. So typically what I would do is I would eat, let's say, protein to
They
carbohydrates
have to compensate, so they have to consume so much, but they're still deficient.
at either a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 ratio. So which means if you're eating protein to carbs at a 3-to-1 ratio, that would be for every 100 grams of protein, you're eating 300 grams of carbs or...
Yeah, but your body's not interested in carbs at all. It's only interested in animal protein, nutrients.
4-to-1 would be for every 100 grams of protein is 400 grams of carbs, right?
It's amazing how stupid people are. They've done this test in science. All the human cells ran towards the nutrients, meat. Ran away from the carbs and all the rest of these plants, man. It ran away. Has no interest in that. Human cells are only interested in nutrients. That's it. No plants.
So basically, I got this fly buzzing around in here.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're trying to build muscle mass, the thing that the primary driver, the most important macro in your diet, as far as the amount for building muscle mass, is going to be carbohydrates.
That's a lie. Carbohydrates, they don't build muscles. He's lying to you. What an idiot. The major thing for building muscle is protein. Protein must outpace protein breakdown for muscle to grow. That's the major thing that grows muscles. If you don't get sufficient amount of protein, If it's not outpacing protein breakdown, you're not going to build any muscle. It's really simple. And how much do you need? A lot. You need to eat to the point where you cannot consume anymore, especially after your workout, your damaging workout.
So your average person has around 18 to 20 kilograms of skeletal muscle mass in them, right? Each kilogram of skeletal muscle mass can hold around 15 grams of glucose in the form of glycogen, right? So when you consume carbohydrates, the carbohydrates break down into glucose. That glucose gets stored inside all the cells in your body, right?
It's, yeah, just you eat carbohydrates. If it's just carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates, they convert to glycogen. So yeah, you got carbs in your diet. It converts to sugar. The excess amount of sugar will load in the muscle as glycogen. Get it? That's what it'll do, and the rest will go to fat, triglycerides. So it's based on addiction. So your diet, his diet, is based on addiction because that sugar will load in your triglyceride. That's why people have a hard time when they do get sick and then they try to say, well, I'm going on the carnivore diet to cure myself now. I'm going to go back on my natural animal diet. Well, what happens is your body's releasing the triglyceride, is releasing the sugar. And so that is adding to your addiction. So it's hard to get over it because that's being released in your body. Yeah.
So let's say you have 20 kilograms of muscle mass on your body. Okay. So if we do 20 times 15, it gives us 300 grams of carbs, right? 300 grams of glucose.
It's crazy.
So in order for you...
That's crazy. Your body can only process 1 gram of sugar. 1 gram. So listen to what he's proposing here. That's insane. That's why I say it's crazy. Now, if you're a lifter, you take complex carbohydrate. That is quite a bit of glucose. That's crazy, man.
To top off your muscle mass with that stored glycogen, you would need...
I like this. Top off that muscle mass with glycogen. What glycogen is artificial muscle growth then. You want to top it off. You don't need that.
300 grams of glucose stored inside your muscle tissue in the form of glycogen. Okay?
Yeah, but you're storing glucose in the form of glycogen in your muscle. But we do know that glucose, it causes glycation. Now, what is it doing when it loads in your muscle? See, that's where I have to ponder all these things now. I have to think about it. What is it doing inside your muscle? It's storing in there, but it causes glycation, right?
Now, the glucose that you eat that is shared with your brain and all of your vital...
What I've noticed is this. I've released all of this glucose out of my muscle. And I've had internal fat, and that internal fat goes around your organs and stuff. So I've got rid of a lot of the fat externally, internally on my body now. Like the majority has come out. So I don't feel these so-called addictions, but it kind of was like there. I was kind of still addicted to stuff, and it was hard to get over it until I could get rid of it. But it took a good long time to really get rid of all that bad weight. It definitely took me at least good 2.5 years to get rid of a lot of this shit. It's a long time.
Organs, and there's a portion of it that also has to remain in your bloodstream as well to be available for use. So even if you were to eat 300 grams of carbs per day, that's not...
You're really running off drugs. Plants are drugs. All plants are drugs, and all drugs are made from plants. It's addiction diet, so you're really running off drugs. Again, this stuff is just going to deteriorate you faster than you're regenerating because you're not in positive nitrogen balance.
Necessarily enough to maintain full...
He obviously doesn't understand that at all.
Glycogen storage inside your muscle tissue. It's important to note that your brain uses around 24 to 25% or 20 to 25% of all of the glucose that you consume in a day. Right?
Your
And
brain is using glucose. Your brain is running off addiction. Your brain only wants fat. Your brain, you should eat brain because brain, animal brain, is good for your brain. That's why in some of these Asian countries, they eat a lot of animal brain. They literally line up for it, and their kids are a lot smarter too. See what I mean? So your brain really runs off animal fat. It wants fat to run off of. And he's telling you no. It'll run off of a drug called sugar. Now, sugar is a drug. It's a legalized drug, but it's a drug. So that's based on addiction.
then, of course, your heart, your liver, all of your
Yeah.
vital organs also use glucose, right?
They also use glucose. They won't use glucose if glucose is not consumed. See what I mean? But if you're consuming it, why are your organs using it? Because it's there. Duh. They're trying to get rid of it.
And then, of course, if you're walking around, even non-exercise,
That's why you become a diabetic because there's all that glucose. And then guess what happens? Your body says, you know what? We need to stop this glucose from coming in. So let's shut off the insulin. So every time this guy tries to eat, we're going to make him sick because the insulin is not going to be able to remove the sugar from the arteries. Because at this point, the body says, you know what? We're going to die if this continues, this behavior continues. Get it, dude? But I mean, these people, they're too stupid to see that. So they go to their doctor, they get insulin shot, and then they continue in that behavior, and then they wonder why they die later on down the road. Because you're abusing your body.
activity also utilizes glucose. So you're burning through a tremendous amount of glucose on a daily basis. People really underestimate it.
Yeah, but what if you're not doing anything? Are you burning through glucose on a daily basis? What's it doing to you if you're static? See what I mean? Yeah, this is stupid. That's why people that retire, they continue in that behavior on the slave food energy, slave food cuisine diet, energy diet. And then they run into lots of problems because they're like, oh, yeah, because they're not burning it anymore.
Glucose basically is what we call sugar in common language.
There you go. What's sugar? A drug.
So basically, when muscle mass or skeletal muscle tissue is filled with glucose, the size of the muscle increases.
Well, there you go. He just admitted it. So the size of the muscle increases. So what does that mean? It's synthetic hypertrophy. Synthetic hypertrophy. That's synthetic growth. If the muscle has increased in size because of glucose, it didn't increase because it did hypertrophy because of contractile proteins, right? Hello.
Right? Now, it's also important to note that muscles
Basically, just a storage unit.
stores water as well as that glucose.
Yeah, it stores water and glucose. That's what steroid people get. They store water and glucose. That's all they're doing. And then they can't figure out when they go off the steroids, where did all the muscle go? Because they didn't build any myofibrillar growth. Myofibrillar growth has to be built through injuries. You have to injure these contractile proteins. You have to injure myofibrils so that they can grow in parallel in series. Now that's specific training, that's special training, but that training compromises sportive performance. That's why it doesn't work in the sport world like this guy, what he does. See what I mean? So they prefer to grow phony muscles, and their strength is based off of motor units, a motor unit strength. Get it? Building up motor units. It isn't based on contractile proteins. It's based on recruiting motor units strength. See what I mean? So it's the opposite. Yeah.
At a 3-to-1 ratio. So for every molecule of glucose, there's 3 molecules of water inside that skeletal muscle tissue.
Yeah, for every gram of glycogen, 3 grams of water being drawn between the skin of the muscle into the muscle. Yeah, there you go, guys. He just admitted it in the video. Yeah, phony muscles.
So the water combined with the glucose stored inside the muscle tissue increases the size of the muscle.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're looking to grow the size of that muscle mass, well, there's your answer. Protein.
See, there's your answer. You guys are building fake muscles. Get it? Yeah.
It doesn't really necessarily work that way. Protein is used to build new cells.
Oh, protein is not used as a storage unit. You can't store protein. You have to injure muscles to build up contractile proteins.
Not necessarily to fill the cells you already have,
Yeah.
right? Your body's capacity to make new muscle tissue is very limited, even if you increase the amount of protein.
No, it's not. It's not limited. He's lying. If you consistently injure the muscle fibers and protein synthesis exceeds breakdown, you will consistently build myofibrillar growth, these sarcomeres in parallel end series, these contractile proteins. He's lying.
You eat, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to gain more muscle mass. It doesn't really work that way because you have a time constraint.
Well, eating alone is not going to build muscle mass, but if there's sufficient amount of micro injuries to the muscle fibers, they will grow. Just like bones, if you break them, they'll grow. That's how they do lengthening, bone lengthening. They lengthen bones.
So when you increase the amount of protein you consume, typically what happens is that the extra protein that you consume gets converted into glucose and used for energy anyway. Right? So this process is called gluconeogenesis. Right? Is where those amino acids are converted into glucose to use for energy. So your body only will utilize the amino acids it needs and then convert.
That's bullshit. That's a lie. He's lying to you. They make that stuff up in science. That's like telling you have a vitamin C deficiency. Well, we don't have a deficiency. We don't produce vitamin C. But that's not what's causing scurvy, because look at the vegan compilation. They're all suffering from scurvy. Their hair is falling out, nails and pee and shit's not working. And they're no longer vegan because of that. That doesn't happen in the carnivore community. Want to know why? Because we're not deficient in any amino acids. So we don't have a deficiency. So there you go. So it's not vitamin C that's causing scurvy. So the government lied there as well. And now he's lying in what he's proposing.
The rest or excrete the rest.
See?
This is very important to understand because
he's lying.
Because if you spend,
he's just regurgitating something he heard or the government told him, some bullshit. They do lie in science. Some things you need to use your own brain to figure it out, right?
Enough years of your life trying to eat as much protein as possible, you actually stress out your liver and your kidneys.
You don't stress out your liver and your kidneys eating high animal-based, raw animal-based diets. That's bullshit. I'd be dead then already because I eat huge amounts of it. I'm always in positive nitrogen balance. But I only really do one meal a day right now, really, honestly. I can add more if I need, only if I'm lifting. But I do one massive meal a day because I know I'm already in positive nitrogen balance. I just know I'm there all the time.
So you can drive up your cholesterol, you can drive up your liver enzymes, you can drive
up your liver enzymes? I'm not taking steroids. No, plants will drive up your liver enzymes because they're toxic. That's not going to happen on animal-based diet. What else did he say here? He said, what else was there? Your liver, your kidneys? No, he's full of shit.
The amount of urine, the amount of protein is coming out in you.
The amount of protein that's coming out of you? Well, protein is digested very easily. We have hydrochloric acid, so you don't really shit a lot. And since the protein is 70% water, you pee a lot. You're peeing most of it out. That's why you don't shit very often eating meat. But if you eat plants, you're shitting all the time because you can't digest plants. That's why you're shitting.
Your urine, right? When there's a pathological level of protein being filtered out to your kidneys, this is called proteinuria.
That's all bullshit. That government just makes up these things. People make these things up. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. You'd never get poisoned or fucked up eating your natural food, eating a high nutrient animal-based raw diet. It's impossible. Impossible.
Excessive levels of nitrogen inside your urine. Nitrogen is the most base form of protein, is broken down.
Yeah, but when protein synthesis, being a positive nitrogen balance means that when protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown, that's when you see that mass on that myofibrillar. So what is he talking about? You're regenerating faster than you're deteriorating constantly. It's a protection. You're actually protecting yourself. But here's the thing. He's lying to you because if you're on your natural carnivore diet, meat diet, as a normal human being, not an abnormal human being like him, guess what? You're always in positive nitrogen balance. So more nitrogen is always coming in than going out. It has to be like that because that's the food that you're eating. There's nothing interfering with it, like these plants.
Into its simplest form, it's called nitrogen.
Yeah, nitrogen, yeah.
And then on top of that, this leads to escalating levels of inflammation, chronic, like oxidative stress, etc.
Why would it lead to inflammation, oxidative stress? That makes absolutely zero sense. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. What leads to oxidative stress and inflammation are plants because they're toxic. They're anti-nutrient.
Right. And so you can see an increase in.
That's why humans look so old. They look old because they're eating plants with a cooked animal diet, which is you're taking on more broken DNA from the meat, and you're eating these plants which are anti-nutrient, and if they're anti-nutrient, you're constantly starving. That's why you're eating 3-4 meals a day every single day. I just eat 1 meal a day. You're eating 3, 4, 5, 6 meals a day, snacks all day, and you're still hungry, and you still wake up starving in the morning. I don't wake up starving in the morning. I only eat 1 meal a day. I eat 1 meal a day, and I don't eat breakfast, and I don't eat dinner. I just eat 1 meal a day in the afternoon. I get it, man? And I'm not starving, and I'm still not starving to the next day. I don't feel any hunger pains because I'm on a high nutrient, animal-based protein diet, yeah.
Your BUN, which is blood urine nitrogen on a blood test, right? And you can see excessive levels of creatinine, where basically creatine that is naturally forming in your body, but when you consume a lot of.
Well, if you lift weights, then that creatine will increase. That's known fact.
Protein, particularly from animal products, right? This drives up creatinine, right? Because the level of
Animal products increase this creatinine. Yeah, okay, what about it?
inflammation increases as you put more stress.
Animal products do not cause inflammation. He's making this stuff up.
And work on your liver and your kidneys, etc., so you can develop kidney.
No, it doesn't. Why you'll develop kidney disease? That he's lying, man. Plants will cause kidney disease. I know because I ate plants. I put it to the test. Fruits and vegetables caused me kidney disease, fatty liver disease, and a bunch of stuff. When I moved to a raw animal-based diet, eating huge amounts like I am now at the buffet, the kidney disease went away and the oxalates start dumping. You can dump all kinds of oxalates. They start coming out. You're like basically detoxing. Your body's throwing out the oxalates now. Why aren't they throwing them out when you eat the plants? Because they keep absorbing them. They circulate and they stay in your system. So these oxalates, when they come out, they're like crystals, bro. They're damaging you. So you can imagine if some of the crystals are left in your dick, it's going to really hurt when you walk around. And you'll know because you can feel it. So can you imagine what it's doing inside your body? It's tearing the shit out of you. They're crystals. They're like glass. Shards of glass, man. They're cutting you up from the inside out. Yeah, man. So I get you people, carnivore people right away, they get a lot of oxalate dumping. Oxalate dumping means you're detoxing now from these poisonous toxic plants, which were also contributing to the deterioration of your body. Get it? Yeah, dude.
Disease. The interesting part is about 90% of people with kidney disease don't realize they have kidney disease.
Yeah, because they're eating plants, actually. Plants cause kidney disease. Man, animal products do not cause kidney disease. Impossible.
Right. So people will mess up their liver and their kidneys and cause themselves to even be either insulin resistant, pre-diabetic, or just full-blown type 2 diabetic as a result.
Well, if you eat plant-based diets, they make you insulin resistant. Yeah, animal products do not make you insulin resistant.
Of all of this excess protein consumption.
That's a lie. I like how he says excessive protein consumption. What is but it's okay for him to eat excessive amount of toxic plants. You heard what he said in the beginning. He goes, I eat large amounts of plants. So it's okay to eat a large amount of these toxic plants, the lectins, tannins, and the oxalates and everything, right? Which are toxic, right? And the fructose, which is toxic, huge amounts of fruits he says he eats. But it's not okay to eat a high animal-based nutrient, pure nutrient diet, which is not deficient in any nutrients, and high amino acids, right? So that you can wear off deterioration and you can regenerate faster than you're deteriorating. But it's okay for you to eat high plants, get it? With lots of toxins. So what would cause you to get kidney disease? High amounts of plants full of toxins, or high amounts of animal products which are high in nutrients and zero toxins and sugar? Huh? Which one, huh?
Right. Also, the more protein you consume, that reduces the amount of carbohydrates you consume and increases the amount of dietary fat you consume.
That it reduces that? Why would it reduce that? If I'm eating protein and fat, why would it reduce me from eating carbohydrates? I'm not eating any carbohydrates. I'm eating meat and animal fat. Duh.
Right. And a lot of times when people pursue this, especially through animal products, what happens is they get an increase in saturated fat and protein, and those two together.
What about saturated fat and protein? We're made out of saturated fat. All our cells are made from saturated fat. It's just like he said before about a high cholesterol. Cholesterol is very good for you. I don't know what he's talking about. All your cells are made from cholesterol. You make hormones out of cholesterol. This guy's insane.
Create insulin resistance. So this keeps
You create insulin resistance. Plants cause insulin resistance. Yeah, it's impossible for animal products to make you insulin resistant because there's no sugar. There's no sugar in there. What's he talking about? There's no toxins or sugar to make you insulin resistant. There's only nutrients in animal products. You stupid fuck.
your blood sugar excessively high. And what happens is when you're insulin resistant,
Yeah, your blood sugar is super high. Well, there's no sugar in meat, you fucking dumbass. What a fucking dumb piece of shit. What an idiot, man.
this raises the amount of insulin that your pancreas secretes in order to shuttle that glucose in your bloodstream into your muscle tissue and all your vital organs.
Yeah, that's the carbohydrates, and now you're loading them in your muscle. What do you think they're doing? This guy's really stupid, eh?
But when you're insulin resistant, that insulin doesn't do as good of a job of shuttling that glucose into those cells. So you get like this starvation of your muscle tissue, a starvation of your brain and all your vital.
Yeah, that's starvation of your muscle tissue and your brain. Okay, that's the vegan diet. They're starving. The starving compilations, they're all starving. Can show you video after video. They are all insulin resistant. That's why they're starving. They're starving their muscles and everything else because it's associated with negative nitrogen balance and insulin resistance. Yeah.
Organs. Your blood pressure goes up, and then you poor sleep quality, mental health.
Blood pressure goes up. Yeah. It's not from animal-based diet. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's making this shit up. This happens only on plants.
Health issues, anxiety, depression, heart palpitations, etc.
Yeah, that's the vegan compilation. They have all of those, the palpitations, the heart, the this and that. That's them, yeah. That isn't animal-based diet.
From this chronically elevated blood sugar, blood pressure, and insulin resistance. Right?
Yeah, but there's no sugar in meat. Doesn't elevate sugar or make you insulin resistant. He's just fabricating the shit.
So what happens is people in the pursuit of trying to gain muscle mass actually gain a lot of body fat. Unwanted.
People that try to gain muscle, try to gain a lot of body fat, it's impossible to get fat eating protein. Protein does not make you fat. Now, bulk diets, eating plants and pasta and bread and all that will make you fat. Yeah, insulin resistant. It'll make you insulin resistant and you'll get fat.
Body fat, and they're not really building muscle mass in the way that they want. People often refer to this as like a dirty bulk, right? So
yeah, there you go. He just admitted it.
People go through this
That has nothing to do with eating meat. That's bulking. You're eating fake food.
yo-yoing effect.
You're getting fat, bulking.
Like they're trying to lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight. So they're cutting their caloric intake to try to lose weight.
Yeah.
And then they lose muscle because they're still insulin resistant. They don't like the way they look. They start increasing their food intake again. They gain the weight back, and up and down, up and down, up and down we go.
Whatever.
Right. So basically, I'm saying all of that to say that the most efficient and sustainable way to build muscle mass is making sure that your glycogen storage is inside your muscle tissue is full and that you're insulin sensitive by having a carbohydrate dominant diet.
That's bullshit. That carbohydrates don't make you insulin sensitive. What are you talking about, man? What makes you insulin sensitive are animal products. He's full of shit. It makes you insulin resistant eating plant-based diets, carbohydrates.
As far as muscle mass retention is concerned, because the thing is that in order to
There's
maximize
no such thing as muscle mass retention. You don't retain proteins as muscle mass. You build muscle mass through contractile proteins, you dumbass.
muscle growth, we also need to maximize muscle retention.
Whatever.
So basically, there's two states of being inside of a muscular environment. You have a catabolic environment and an anabolic environment.
Yeah.
Catabolic is a word for muscle breakdown, right? A breakdown or deteriorating of the cells. Anabolic is a word for growth, right? So when you go into a caloric deficit or the glucose inside the muscle tissue is depleted, this puts the muscle in a catabolic state.
No, it doesn't. He's lying to you. That's used as an energy source so it can spare protein. The energy source can spare some protein, yeah. That's not what puts you in a catabolic state. What puts you in a catabolic state is when you're in negative nitrogen balance. See? He's talking about glucose. No. If you're in a negative nitrogen balance, you're going to be in a catabolic state. What puts you in an anabolic state is when you're in positive nitrogen balance, the opposite. So he's wrong.
Muscle breakdown. When the muscle is well fed, is well hydrated, and the glycogen stores inside the muscle tissue is full, it gets put into an anabolic state.
No, it doesn't. This is dumb too. When protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown, you're in an anabolic growth state. When you're in positive nitrogen balance, it's the opposite. Building up proteins and breaking down. You're building up proteins and breaking them down all day long.
Muscle growth. When you maintain adequate levels of glycogen stored inside the muscle tissue, this maintains the actual muscle size and the muscle volume and strength.
No, that just maintains the phony muscles that you build called sarcoplasmic hypertrophy muscles. That's what it maintains. That's why it says glucose and stuff. It goes in there, glucose. You're building glucose muscles? I thought muscles were built through protein. He's trying to convince you that vegan diets build muscles through glucose, so they don't build contractile proteins.
Right.
This guy's insane. He's trying to convince this idiot, the guy on the left, that yeah, man, muscles, they're built with glucose. So fuck off, man.
So this is why I'm against carb cutting.
See, that's why he's against carb cutting, because muscles are built with carbohydrates. They're not built with protein. Nobody's building any muscle. In other words, that's what he's telling you.
Right? Because the carbohydrates is needed to maintain the respiration and metabolic process that maintains the life cycle of the muscle tissue.
It maintains the life cycle of the muscle tissue. What? I've never heard this pseudoscience before. Bro, this guy's fucking insane, man. Where the fuck does he come up with this shit? Where's his proof?
Right. So all of the cells inside the muscle tissue are living. And if you deprive them of that glucose, they die off sooner than later.
No, they don't. Your body produces glucose if necessary. They call it ketones. If your body needs glucose, it will produce the exact amount that it needs. Everything is highly orchestrated and regulated by your body. But if you do something artificial to your body, you throw off this rhythm, this natural rhythm that it has. And that will fuck you up. That's what he's doing to himself and everybody else. Because this is a coach? What kind of coach is this, man? He's going to fucking destroy the people he's coaching.
They become dehydrated. They're not really able to feed off of the glucose, create intracellular energy, and they start.
They're gonna fucking deteriorate massively fast, man. They're gonna cause DNA damage, mitochondrial damage, fucking brain damage, a bunch of shit.
to die off. And then as a result, you can experience weakening and muscle mass shrinkage and reduction.
No, you don't. You don't feel weakening and muscle mass reduction. You feel weakening and muscle mass reduction when you're in negative nitrogen balance, which vegan people are in. That's why they take steroids. All of them are cheating. That's why he said something about steroids.
So this is why I prioritize the carbohydrates over the protein. Protein is important. It's just not as important as people think it is.
Oh, that's a good one. So if I get micro damage in my muscles, right? And I want to reconstruct them now, I want to go through a repair and a remodeling. Oh, it's not so important. I should eat glucose then. Maybe glucose will repair and remodel those contractile proteins, right? The sarcomeres and parallel series. What a fucking knob, man. It's crazy.
As far as the overall
This guy's insane.
amount you consume is concerned.
Yeah, actually, why do you think people tend to overestimate the importance of protein for building muscle, and why
Because protein is what builds contractile proteins. Duh. That's why.
do people, when we say we're on a high raw vegan diet, often their first question, especially in the fitness world, is, well, you don't get enough protein.
Yeah, so basically it's a cultural, kind of like a cultural pathology that we have. Is motivated by a couple things.
It's a cultural thing. It's scientific, bro. What are you talking about?
Tradition, as well as there's an economic incentive, right? So in the Western world, especially here in the United States, a large part of our food system is driven by animal agriculture. Really, our entire food system is built around animal agriculture, right? Chickens, cows.
It's driven by animal culture. It's driven by everything. It's driven by the plant culture. Have you been in the stores, man? There's more garbage food in there made from plants than animal products. Yeah, the dairy section and the animal product section is very small compared to all the rest of the fruit section and plant section, and then all the stuff that's made, the packaging, the artificial food that's made from all those things. It's horrendous. It goes on forever and ever. Then there's bread, and then there's donuts, pastries, fucking cookies, all these other things made from sugar. It never ends, dude. I don't know what he's talking about.
Pigs, just basically having to slaughter billions of animals in the pursuit of proteins.
No, it's not just we're slaughtering animals in the pursuit of proteins, but yeah, you need the essential proteins definitely, or you'll die. But it also has nutrients. It's not deficient in any nutrients, which vegan diets are deficient in nutrients and these amino acids. There's the deficiency, and you're lacking in them. You don't even have B12 in there, and a bunch of other vitamins. That's why they die of scurvy. Eventually, it'll catch up with this fucker. He's gonna fucking die soon too. He's gonna suffer like the vegan compilation because he's a dumb fuck.
So basically, there's a financial incentive to encourage the slaughter and consumption of animals
No, absolutely not. There is a health. It's based on health consumption. There's a money incentive to promote plants so that we can get rid of the majority of the population so that they could die off. That's what they want. So that they can steal their pension so they don't go on pension or anything. In other words, they just want you to work, use you up like a good little slave. Why would they want to keep you living long? The whole point is to keep you living a short lifespan. Meat will make you live longer. It's kind of obvious, right? It's anti-aging. Meat is anti-aging. Yeah, because it's not deficient. It keeps you in positive nitrogen balance. If you're in negative nitrogen balance, you're deteriorating faster than you're aging. Then you're regenerating. So hey, the incentive is what? The incentive is to make you knock you off a lot faster. Eat plants and you'll die. If you were starving, which one would you pick? A salad or a steak to survive on? It's kind of obvious. The steak. You couldn't survive on the salad. You die on the spot. Yeah, because that's vegan diets. They die.
in order to
Like, in other words, You won't die on an animal-based diet. That's a known fact. But you will die if you eat plants. Eventually, you will die.
Facilitate this protein need.
And those
You didn't tell people to eat less.
He keeps saying protein as if that's the only thing that is found in these animal products. They're not deficient in any nutrients or vitamins or minerals. It has all vitamins and minerals are found in animal products. There's zero deficiency in there. The animals eat the plants and we eat the animals.
I think they're more and more fat also now. They're not as protein.
Vegan diets are deficient in amino acids and they're deficient in these minerals and vitamins. It's a known fact. Especially vitamin B12. There's 4 types of vitamin B12. They're deficient in all 4 of these vitamin B12s. Yeah, not just that, but they're deficient in the essential amino acids and everything else. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Sometimes it's said it is, right?
Right. But yeah, so basically it's an economic incentive. If you're telling people, hey, you don't need to eat as much protein.
No, not at all. It's an economic incentive to promote plant-based diets because they want you to die a lot sooner. Get it? They want you to die. They don't want you to keep living on and on and on forever.
Well, then,
There's no incentive to keep paying you a check for free and you're not working.
ones who are selling protein and telling you to eat more, they take a financial loss as a result. They make less money.
Yeah, I mean, there's an incentive to have people that are sick. They need dentists, right? If you eat plant-based diets, it's associated with rotting teeth. If you eat a meat-based diet, it's not associated with rotting teeth. Why? Because there's no sugar in there. There's no sugar, there's no toxins. It's not associated with poor health outcomes. But plant-based diets are all associated with what? Poor health outcomes. Why? Because they're toxic. If all these fruits and vegetables, they're acidic and stuff, they're eroding your teeth, they're deteriorating your teeth. You're going to the dentist. What are they doing to your bones and your muscle? They're doing the same thing. They're deteriorating you faster than you're regenerating. See? And that's the incentive. I mean, the industry cannot make money off healthy people. If you're healthy, if everybody's healthy, eating an animal-based diet, running around, intelligent, especially everybody's intelligent, and everybody is fucking healthy. Well, that's no good because who's going to do the labor jobs? Everybody's intelligent, right? They don't want to do the labor jobs. So you got to have a lot of stupid people out there. So the weak survive and the strong survive and the weak die. So the weak are, there's some weaker sperm out there than the stronger sperm, get it? And some of them can handle these diets and some can't. And then they become the slaves for the rest of the people. And then the other people, they do the easy jobs. And then the slaves do the shitty jobs and they live like slaves too, because their pay is even less. You get it, man? It's just like that. The world is competitive. Yeah.
Right? So
what?
Media shapes our culture, right? We have this top-down thing.
Yeah, like this guy. Misinformation shapes culture. Misinformation and tradition. It becomes tradition. And then it's passed on. And so conditioning is what shapes culture. Conditioning. They condition you. They get you to condition each other. Eat the slave food diet, go to your slave school, go to your slave job, get your slave pay, and go to your slave store, buy your slave food diet, and go home to your slave wife and your slave kids. That's all. That's how they condition you.
So at the top, we have wealthy economic interests, right? So for example, if you turn on your television.
Wealthy economic interests, the elite. What is their interest? What are their interests? Think about that. The elite. What do you think they eat? Think they eat the peasant slave food diet cuisine?
You never see advertisements for fruit, right?
You don't have to see advertisement for fruit. As soon as you come into any store, the first thing you run into is the fruit. As soon as you get into the store, they always put it right there in the beginning. Fruits and vegetables hit you right away when you come in, and then you see people right away. They have to get those fruits and vegetables, and they're gonna say it's healthy for you, but that's just regurgitating something they heard from somebody else, because people are easily duped. they believe whatever you tell them because humans are stupid.
But you know, back in the 90s, you would see a Got Milk commercial,
Oh yeah.
right? When you turn on the television, you see Arby's, you see Red Lobster.
Yeah, but they always show fruits. They always show fruits on TV. I don't know what he's talking about. They show fruits and shit and all that. There's commercials.
You see any kind of steakhouse.
But they don't have to because it's been marketed as being healthy for you, healthy. So people think it's healthy. So that's the first thing they're going to get healthy. They go, oh, look, these carrots and stuff, these plants, they're healthy for us. So they don't really need those commercials.
Or whatever the case is, but there's always meat consumption being advertised to you, right? Even in, you know, junk food, they advertise how much protein is in the junk food, right?
Well, they can't have you completely be decimated and completely sick, right? Then you won't be able to work. They need you to work and then burn you out.
And there's no sugar, right? So they advertise there being no sugar and more protein, right?
Oh, and there's no sugar, there's more protein. Yeah, but animal products have no sugar. What are you talking about, dumbass? They promote it. There's no sugar in meat. Talk about.
Basically, the interests that sell the protein, they work in collusion with the media to program the population, to train them to believe that they need to pursue protein pretty aggressively, right?
Oh, listen to what he says. They train the population to pursue protein. Duh. Well, they train the population to believe that these toxic, poisonous plants are healthy for you. Get it? Because they have vitamin E and C in there. They have vitamin C in there. That's about all they have, right? You understand me? They do that. They condition you, and they condition you from a child, which is very toxic for you and destroys children. So they start conditioning you, which also makes you underdeveloped too, because on the slave food diet, you can't develop properly on a slave food peasant, slave food plant diet. Get it? Yeah, man.
So they create media campaigns to indoctrinate the public to go out and.
Yeah, that's the same thing they do with plants. They've indoctrinated the public. It becomes tradition. You've been conditioned to believe that this food is healthy for you, when in fact you never needed it to begin with. Plants.
Eat more protein and eat more meat, and that drives sales and revenue and profit to the media centers.
Yeah, you need to eat your natural diet, more meat, and yeah. Why? What's wrong with eating your natural food? That cows, if we put out commercials for cows, that they should be eating more grains and I don't know, popcorn and shit too, or should they be eating their grass, or should they be eating more popcorn and stuff? Is that it? Oh, so they should put out more commercials saying that they need to eat more, I don't know, soybean and fucking corn stalks and shit and grains. Is that it? Instead of eating grass or natural food? So as humans, we need to put commercials out stating that we shouldn't be eating our natural food, meat, right? We shouldn't be eating animal products. We should be eating, I don't know, a sludge. Is that it, sir? Oh, okay.
In the big money interests that control the media. So a lot of the beliefs that we have, we basically inherited from the media.
Yeah, that's the beliefs that we have. We inherited from the media. The media told us that these plants were healthy, but now we're discovering that all these plants are what? Toxic. Because they never put them on the label when you go into the store. They don't tell you what's inside there. There's oxalates in there, tannins and lectins and shit, sulforaphane. It's all toxic. And they have their own toxicity. See, they don't tell you that plants have their own toxicity because they're apex fucking organisms on this planet. That's how they protect themselves. And not only do they have their natural toxins to protect them, like their natural pesticides to protect them from being eaten, they're also sprayed with pesticides on the surface as well, like glyphosates and shit. So they're heavily sprayed, and they have them on the outside, which you can't wash off. And they have their own natural occurring ones. Wow. Which the media has kept from you. Get it? Yeah.
Inherited our culture from the media, right? Yeah. So A lot of the things that people think is just a result of that. It's not based on science or anything like that.
So actually,
See, it's not based on science or anything like that. Yeah, there's no science telling you. There's no science on a meat diet. This guy's making up stuff because there's no science on meat diet. Why would they do that? Because the outcome would be the same: health. It would be healthy. You would be healthy, right? Yeah. See what I mean? But they will tell you that processed meat is bad for you. Yeah, processed meat is bad for you. You're consuming broken DNA because you processed it. Get it by heating it or whatever you're doing there.
well, that's quite interesting. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I would love to ask you, so in my experience, in my opinion, what I'm feeling is that I'm also on a high raw vegan diet, as I've been for about 3 years. I'm very happy about it. I do wonder
Yeah, not for long. He's probably doing dairy products to sustain him at this point. Usually 2 years is the max.
if it's the best way to build muscles, though. Where I'm at is it's the healthiest, I feel like it's the healthiest diet for me. And I feel maybe I'm not building muscle as fast as I could on another diet, but I want to build muscle, but I want to be healthy and have longevity that are more important. So for me, that's a bit my experience.
If you want to be healthy and have longevity, then you have to eat animal-based diet.
But would you go as far as
You have to eat your diet.
saying that the diet we're doing, high raw vegan, is even the best for building muscle and strength?
Yeah, so that's a good question, right? Because, so basically, if somebody asked me, hey, what is the best way to build muscle mass? My answer would be to maximize carbohydrate and protein consumption while doing steroids.
See, there you go. I told you. That's the way vegans think. Steroids and plants. This guy's full of shit, man. Right there. What an asshole.
Right? It's the best. It may not be the healthiest, but it'll build you muscle the fastest, right?
Not necessarily, it won't.
However, building muscle mass and strength, at a certain point, it will come into conflict with your health outcomes, right? So what you're doing is you're saying, well, I want to be as healthy as possible and have an idea.
It won't come into conflict. He's full of shit. How can building contractile proteins have a health conflict? How does it conflict your health by building contractile proteins? How is that unhealthy? Explain that. He can't even. This guy's full of shit. These are stupid channels like this out there.
Metabolism and live a longer, healthier life rather than just build muscle even at the expense of my health. So
Muscle is very difficult to build. That's why nobody's really building it. That's why they're all frustrated because they don't know what builds muscle or how to build it. They don't understand muscle building. A lot of people don't. Science tells you what builds muscles, but they don't even listen to that. They're too stupid. They listen to these gurus online that want to rob them.
I don't know if
Keep them stagnated like this guy.
I would say that like a raw or high raw vegan diet is the best for muscle building. I can make the argument that it is, right? But it depends on
Yeah, but he has no proof. He can make the argument, but it's not. But the truth is it's not. And he knows it's not. It's stupid. That's stupid to think that because you're in negative nitrogen balance. Get it? It's impossible.
how you structure your diet, right? So there's a lot of different ways to structure a high raw vegan diet.
Yeah.
The way that I do it, I think that it's very effective for building muscle. Is it the best?
It's not effective for building muscle. You don't build contractile proteins on vegan diets. He's lying to you. I don't know why he's lying. Maybe he has incentive to lie. Who knows? Maybe he's another one of these assholes that want to destroy people, make them believe in that, and then destroy them. There's a lot of naive people out there. They would believe the shit that this guy fucking puts out. This guy's a nasty human being, anyways. Fuck him, man.
Ever? Possibly, maybe, right?
Evil
I know it's very effective, at least for me and the people that I coach.
He's lying.
So just being honest.
He's lying. No, it's not. He said steroids. He's coaching people. They're all on steroids, man. Taking plant-based diet.
Where the answer is not necessarily as cut and dry, right?
Look, first he said meat and plants and steroids. Then he says, okay, plants, and they're good. I don't know. He's all over the fucking place, man. It makes no sense, this guy.
What I can tell you is that the fastest way to build muscle mass is getting, let's say, anywhere from 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of lean mass, and then eat carbohydrates and proteins at either a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1 ratio. If you do that,
He's full of shit. I only recommend carbohydrates to people that are just not eating properly. It's an energy source that it can spare some protein, but eventually you'll pay the price down the line, I think. You spare the protein to build the muscle by using that as an energy source. Really, that's what most people try to do. But that really is slaves, people that can't afford to eat. I don't know. They have no money, they can't eat or whatever. Or they're just not eating enough, that's all. And then you recommend that. See what I mean? To some people.
generally speaking, that's going to be the best driver for muscle growth. Now, you can do that through a high raw vegan diet or any other means. I don't know, right? You can even do that on a fully raw diet, right? If you're using protein powders and things like that. So the answer is a bit more nuanced, right? I don't believe in magic bullets. There really aren't any magic bullets. We got to have a bit more of a nuanced conversation about these things. However, for me, I try to basically pursue the best fitness results, but not at the expense of health, right? So I don't really subscribe to gimmicks or any kind of magical thinking or just do this one thing and it's the best thing ever, right?
Holy shit, he's one to talk. He just claims it was. What an asshole. This is the biggest asshole I've ever seen on the internet.
I don't really feel comfortable saying that, right? So it's a bit more detailed. The last thing I'll say is your diet is the substrate for how much muscle you can build, right? So the better your diet is, the more likely you'll be able to build that muscle mass. However, your training is, I don't know if I would say it's more important, but your training strategy will make it or break your ability to build muscle, right? So people can have an ideal diet for building muscle mass.
Well, both have to be in line. You have to be in positive nitrogen balance, and your training has to be geared towards building myofibrillar growth and not what he's saying, glycogen muscles.
But their training is not ideal at all, right? And so basically, if you're not training efficiently to build muscle, then your results are going to be lacking, right? The primary driver of muscle growth when it comes to building muscle is going to be training intensity.
No, it's not. The driver of muscle growth is mechanical tension, which is lifting weights, moving weights up and down. The amount of mechanical tension you're placing on the myofibrillar and the amount of micro damage you've caused, that you can cause to a myofibrillar. So you can build the sarcomeres in parallel and in series, these contractile proteins.
You need a minimum threshold of training volume, and then you need training intensity, right?
Yeah, intensity, yeah. Volume intensity. It's volume intensity, but it can only be done periodically. It cannot be done consistently. Muscle can only be micro torn once. You can only tear it once. You don't go back to the gym and keep tearing it every single day. It will never grow. When will it grow? It needs time to grow. It needs time to repair, to grow, and remodel itself. Get it? They call it remodeling. Ever heard of it, man?
According to the scientific data, and I don't know how deep you want to get into hypertrophy training, but the basics of it is you have 3 categories in your training that dictate how you structure your training plan. Training frequency, how often you train. volume, how much training, how many sets and reps you do, and then training intensity, how much resistance, how much force production or force
You mean on the day, on the day, on the day, yeah.
you resist within a given workout, right? How hard you're pushing the muscle. Right?
Yeah, okay.
So there's a balance between those things. Now, training frequency is important because the more you train a muscle or the more frequently you train a muscle, the more opportunity there is to engage in muscle protein synthesis of that particular muscle that you train.
I like this. So the more you train it, the more you have this thing, protein synthesis. The more you can protein synthesize. Yeah, you will synthesize protein, but you're only restoring the proteins that you broke down in the gym. That's what's going to happen. Yeah.
Right. Muscle volume basically is extending the load or the duration of how much you train that.
What will dictate you building building these protein or protein synthesis is when protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown. That's when you're building it. When you're in when you're in positive nitrogen balance, you're always building more proteins that are being broken down because they're being built up and broken down all day long. So you have more chances of building muscle if you're in an anabolic growth state. Yeah.
Muscle, how much stimulus you apply to that muscle. Training intensity also is a stimulus thing, right? So
Yeah, but you don't have to do it all the time. You only have to do it once. And then you have to be in positive nitrogen balance the rest of the week and build those myofibrillars.
basically what you can do is, what I would rather people do is dial back the volume and frequency and increase the intensity. The reason why I default to this is because a priority on recovery is more important than the training itself. So if you're very ambitious, you really want to build muscle, you're like, I'm going to train 5 days a week, 6 days a week.
Yeah, think about that. I'm going to break down proteins 6 days a week. So you're going to come into the gym, break down proteins. You're not damaging muscle fibers. You're not causing micro damage anymore. You're breaking proteins down, right? Right? And now there's a window for protein breakdown. Every time you're breaking down proteins, right? Are you in positive nitrogen balance even? Are you? Do you know if you are or you aren't? You eating carbohydrates, mixing it, the plants with the fucking protein and shit, anti-nutrients and shit? See what I mean? So, okay, think about this for a moment. So you go into the gym every single day, you're breaking down and then you're restoring, breaking down, restoring, breaking down and restoring muscle. That's why nobody's building muscle. And then he told you you're building carbohydrate muscles, glycogen muscles. You're going to grow these glycogen muscles, okay?
It's great for maximizing muscle volume, frequency, but it's not great for maximizing recovery. So if you're not
runners recover. See, it's not bodybuilding is not an endurance sport like him. 6 days a week at endurance, breaking down proteins and restoring them. It's not endurance. It's a sprint. So it's not based on endurance. So recovery, runners recover. Fucking long distance marathon runners recover, but us bodybuilders, we grow. We don't recover. We grow.
Recovering from your training and you're just running yourself into the ground, you may be working against yourself. You could be preventing yourself from.
Okay, but why are you training 6 days a week? Are you training because you wanna recruit more motor units for force production, or are you training to build more contractile proteins, which will enhance your performance? Which one fucking are you doing? Look, what enhances your performance? Contractile proteins, nuclei, they enhance your performance. You get it in every sport. It's called bodybuilding. It enhances your performance to every sport. It's a carryover to every sport. But if you're lifting in the gym 6 days a week, what are you doing there? You're recruiting motor units. That doesn't enhance you. It doesn't enhance your performance like myofibrillars do.
Gaining muscle mass or even causing yourself to lose muscle mass. if you were to scale back to, instead of training 5 or 6 days a week, maybe you scaled back to like 3 or 4, and that would improve your recovery and thus improve your results as far as building muscle.
No, it won't. It won't do anything as far as growing muscle, but it will make you better at recruiting motor units. Yeah, I get it. Man, this guy's crazy.
Right. So according to the scientific literature, you need what, like around 3 to 6 sets a week to either build or maintain muscle mass in order to really.
You need 6 sets a week to maintain or build muscle mass? You don't need sets to maintain muscle mass. Wow, this is really dumb, man. Positive nitrogen balance will maintain the muscle that you build, myofibrillar growth. If you built it, I don't know. Did you build any? There's nothing to maintain there. What, glycogen? Are you maintaining the glycogen? He keeps talking about glycogen. What the fuck?
Grow a muscle, right? You need more so a minimum of 10 sets per week or like 9 sets per week, up to like 30 or maybe even above 30.
To grow a muscle? Why do sets grow a muscle? How do sets grow a muscle? Why do you need all these sets to grow muscles? They don't grow muscles. Protein grows muscles. What the fuck are you talking about?
Right? I subscribe more so to a total collective volume of at least 30 sets per week.
Sets will cause relative amount of damage to muscle fibers, and then they can go through a repair and a remodeling growth. I don't know what he's talking about, man. But you're not getting damaged all the time because you're adapted. The only way to get muscles to damage and to grow muscle is unaccustomed, unfamiliar forms, untrained, and eccentric exercise is known to cause widespread muscle damage. You know that. But you training 6 days a week seems like you're accustomed to lifting. You're accustomed. You're not unfamiliar or untrained or unfamiliar, unaccustomed, or untrained. Doing those exercises. Yeah, I just don't get it, dude.
Right, of training volume. If you really want to build muscle mass.
Okay.
So what that looks like is, let's say you train 3 days a week, but you do 10 working sets of training volume per workout. Right? That's enough to build muscle mass.
How do you know that that's enough to build muscle mass? What do you mean that's enough to build muscle mass? What if there were no micro damages there? You're not building any muscle mass. And if you're not in positive nitrogen balance, you won't build anything, squat.
And it's enough to ensure adequate recovery in your training.
God, I can't stand people like this on the internet. This video is fucking bullshit.
So then you have to factor in, okay, so how do you know that you're adequately building muscle, right? What's your goal? Is it to build 1 pound of muscle per month, 1.5, 2, or more?
Wow, you have a goal to build 1 pound of muscle a month. How the fuck would you know how much you can build? You can only build as much as your body would allow you to build in those sessions. What the fuck is this guy talking about? You don't dictate how much muscle your body's gonna build. What the fuck, man? This guy's stupid.
So if you don't have that number factored out, it's very difficult to say if you're gaining muscle real fast or...
Human body, I want you to gain 1 pound of muscle per month for me, okay? I'm going to do this and you have to gain it 1 pound. But what if you gain 2 pounds instead of 1? What if you gain 5? What does that say exactly? Or what if you gain 0? What happens if you gain nothing that entire month? Was it a waste? Do you know what you're doing? How do muscles build? How do you build muscles and how do they build?
Slow, right? Because you have to define what the terms are.
Whatever.
A good rate of muscle growth is like 1 pound to 1.5 pounds of lean mass per month.
Well, that's a lie because I was able to eke out at least a good pound or so, 1.5 pounds each week. Yeah. I don't know what he's talking about. It's a very short run to build muscle. You have to be in anabolism. You have to be in positive nitrogen balance the whole time. To build muscle, you have to be consistent the whole time for muscle to build. You can't be in negative nitrogen balance at any time. If you are, You've lost that consistency. Now you're breaking down proteins again.
In a calendar year, you can gain anywhere from like, let's say 12 or 18 pounds of muscle mass within a year, excuse me, right? So like, let's say you're 150 pounds and you said, okay, I'm gonna take an entire calendar year or at least 9 months out of the year to try to maximize muscle hypertrophy. So I want to go from, let's say 150 to 162 or even 165
Okay.
by the end of the year. That's a good goal, right?
Yeah, sure.
And let's say your first year, you go from 150 to 162 or 165. That's a success. That is a successful year of muscle mass building. And that is enough to create a body transformation.
Yeah, how do you know that it's muscle though, man? How do you know what builds muscle? You're building muscle. This guy's full of shit, man. This video is really tiring me at this point. This guy's tiring me out. I can't listen to him anymore. Fuck.
It is very noticeable in the your second year, you can build on top of that. So you can maintain at 162, 165, and then in your second year, you can close out that year at 170, 172, right? Or 175 in that second.
Whatever.
Manage to have that transition and still build muscle in that process.
Yeah, so it depends on where you're starting from. Let's say you're starting, but your body fat percentage is really high. Most people don't have much muscle mass on them, right? They may weigh a lot, but they don't have much muscle mass. So you can have a
Why?
guy that guy could be 6 feet tall. He's 210 pounds, but he only has like 130 pounds of muscle mass on him,
Okay, whatever.
right? So me, I'm 5'9". I have
This is tiring me out, man. No, let's see what else he says here.
animal products, but that's a relatively new development as far as the mainstream is concerned, right? There's a lot of things and a lot of methods that we use now that are not ideal, but we do it just because it's culture. Even if you think about our economic system, right? Our economic default is
This guy is dumber than a chicken. Fucking man. I can't listen to this fucking guy.
capitalism, right?
Wow.
It's almost like as a global system, it's not the best, but then if you pursue your interest,
And this is another idiot listening to another idiot.
actually generally better through capitalism. So for example, if I destroy the environment to make
Maximize my income and
then if I'm a coach and
Yeah.
a lot of them we don't even think to even challenge the beliefs we have. So what I'm saying about carbohydrates, that's based on scientific data, right?
Where is the scientific data? Where is it? Why don't you produce it? Because it doesn't exist.
But culturally, we put this premium on protein, even though there's
Yeah, carbohydrates will aid in sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Okay.
really not a science behind that.
That's the science. High volume training is associated with sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Yeah.
So an example of that is our population, at least here in the U.S. and the Western world, our population is eating more and more protein and getting weaker and weaker and more unhealthy and unhealthy.
So the people in the United States are eating more and more protein, and they're getting weaker and weaker and getting more unhealthy. Let me see. So previously we've been eating just mostly animal products, and farming was a short run, right? It was seasonal. But now with the imports and everything, people are eating more imported food. So they're eating vegetables and fruits all year round. They're eating in fast food restaurants, right, which are filled with chemicals and stuff and obesogens and, plant toxins and everything. They're toxifying their bodies with all these toxins and everything nonstop. Their water's fucking filled with toxins. But it's the protein that's making them weaker because they're eating more protein. They're actually eating less protein. Here's the funny part. He keeps saying that they're eating more and more protein, but in fact, they're eating less protein and eating more plants because they're eating it all year round. They're not doing it seasonally anymore. You see the propaganda this piece of shit is putting out? He's lying. He's just making up shit. People are not eating more protein. They eat less animal products, so they're eating more plants. That's why he's vegan. And they're pushing this vegan shit and plants and eating more plants. Man, vegetarian, veganism, this, that, bullshit, whatever, man. Fucking, he's full of shit, bro. I'm so tired of listening to people, a piece of shit like this, man. Garbage. He thinks he's so high and mighty. It's assholes like this because they feel disgruntled because he was a slave, man. Now, and, you know, he was like, I'm gonna get back at all these people. I'm gonna punish them for what they did to my forefathers. I'm gonna put out misinformation and fuck everybody. They're eating too much protein. They're getting weak in this. Protein makes you weak. I thought protein makes you stronger. Doesn't it make you stronger? No. See, the government knows that protein makes you stronger, but plants make you weak, man. It's kind of obvious. Even the Mongols knew that. This guy's full of shit.
right? So if you see an increase in animal product and protein consumption and then a decrease in strength, muscle mass, testosterone, and overall well-being,
So why would an increase in protein make your testosterone, well-being, and muscle mass go down if protein is what builds muscle mass? You see, people, this guy is so full of shit.
if the protein was that important and it produced the best results, we wouldn't be seeing that inverse correlation, right?
No, the problem is people can't afford, apparently to them, they can't afford to eat that much, or they just never do because they're used to eating the slave food diet. Peanut butter jam sandwiches, get it? They think peanut butter and jam bread sandwiches build muscles, which don't.
However, there's going to be a lot of people who hear me say that and it never occurred to them. They didn't know.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Yeah, I know. Protein doesn't build muscles. Animal protein doesn't build muscles. Peanut butter jam sandwiches do. Yeah, sure, dude.
So this is what I mean about, like, if you don't really hear certain conversations happening in public, that's why these podcasts are so important. So
Yeah, they're so important so they could put out misinformation and, people believe whatever they're told, man. Remember that movie Catch Me If You Can?
when you look at the most popular podcasts, like let's say the Joe Rogan podcast, right? He's sponsored by, all types of animal product, beef sticks and meat sticks, that and all types of stuff, right? And all, vegans and the soy and, it's going to
And the vegan people aren't, are they? Okay.
deplete your testosterone. You got to eat, bear burgers or whatever the case is, right? But, he's propped up and paid by various big money interests to say these things.
So is this guy.
It's just an economic interest.
Oh, man.
So he may be saying things that cut against the well-being of his audience, but yeah, I think, I guess in a nutshell, what I would say is
Fuck it, man.
life for the most part is a zero-sum game, which means more of one thing is necessarily less of another, right?
All right, I'm done with this video, man. I'll see you people in the next one. This guy is full of shit, man. Final thoughts. Let's see his final thoughts.
You have to factor that into your calendar year where, you do a water fast, you lose a lot of weight. A portion of it will be lean.
Yeah, okay, water fast. Yeah, that's all we need to do is starve ourselves. Okay. So we can be deteriorating faster than we're regenerating, sure.
Mass. But the thing you gain from the water fast is the health benefits of doing it.
Oh, the health benefits from water fast. What are the health benefits from starvation? Please let me know.
Right. So being clear on what you're gaining and what you're sacrificing, regardless of what you're pursuing.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
And just having a more nuance, a lot of it throughout this entire
The
conversation.
reason why people go on these stupid fucking starvation diets is because you've accumulated all this fucking shit from eating plants and carbohydrates and sugar in your fucking fat cells and in your fucking muscle and everywhere. It's just garbage, oxalate buildup and toxins and shit. If you think fasting is gonna solve that problem, good luck, man. It's bullshit, whatever.
We talked a lot about nuance, right? So you always want to be aware of the nuances in your internal dialogue, the things that you're pursuing in your life, etc. Right?
All right, friends, I'm done with this video. I'll see you in the next one. It's going way too late. I think it's like fucking 2 hours or something. Christ. See you in the next one, friends. This is the typical garbage that exists out there. See you later.